morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rajat Mukherjee. As Director General of Broadband India Forum, I'm very pleased to welcome you all to this, the first of our learning series, the launch of the Broadband India Forum's Connectivity Accelerator program. Broadband India Forum functions as an independent policy forum and think tank that works for the development and enhancement of the entire broadband ecosystem in a holistic, technology-neutral, and service-neutral manner. BIF's endeavor is to always promote, support, and enhance all policy, regulatory, and standards initiatives for the proliferation of high-quality broadband in the country, to empower consumers with efficient and economical broadband, and thus realize the true digital India. We work closely with the government and the regulator to realize this mission, and we believe that India, as a vast country with a vibrant geological ecosystem as well as population, requires many technologies in order to connect every individual. Broadband India Forum's Connectivity Accelerator program has been put in place to facilitate these innovators and entrepreneurs looking to take up implementation and rendering of the PM WANI service. And we are very pleased to have the support of the Department of Telecommunications, and we extend our thanks to the respected Secretary and the entire team at DOT. We would also like to recognize the support of Meta in making sure that these learning series continue for the duration that they are planned. PM WANI as a concept, as a service, and as a facilitator for extending broadband services to all will be covered extensively in these. And the speakers coming after me will be expanding further to provide greater detail. I invite the entrepreneurs to visit the Connectivity Accelerator website and register for the program. With this brief message, let me hand over to Mr. Taha Malik, who is going to be moderating today's session. Taha, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajat, and thank you for the brief introduction about the program itself. With the advent of PM WANI, we're seeing a colossal shift in the process of proliferating internet connectivity across India. PM WANI scheme, with its endeavor to set up public Wi-Fi, has not only taken a big first step in bringing these significant benefits of internet connectivity to everyone in India, but has revolutionized the business models and technological innovation surrounding internet connectivity. Due to this fact, we now have a lot of innovators, startups providing disruptive innovations. This rise in number has not only amplified the entire process, but also increased the magnitude and the robustness of such connectivity, at the same time keeping the cost low to be able to be used for value across the country. Broadband India Forum brings the BIF Connectivity Accelerator program. We have taken up the mantle to accelerate and scale up startups, innovators who are in the process of giving affordable, quality, and high-speed broadband to people in India. This program that has been conceptualized in partnership with Meta and Headstart provides an intensive 3-month support to startups, where we look at providing them masterclasses on growth, mentorship from domain and subject matter experts across technology, business, government, and even funds. They also get opportunity to network with industry stalwarts, explore partnerships that can really help them grow their venture, grow their entire concept into a large-scale innovation. Along with that, we also provide support and training to help them for demo days with investors, customers, and business partners. And lastly, the top participants in this program will also have an opportunity to be awarded grants up to 20 lakh rupees to help them with all the efforts and all the plans that they have created in this 3-month program. This program is meant for all startups, all innovators, enterprises who are working on solving internet connectivity challenges, be it looking at new technologies to improve the connectivity, business models, innovative business models that helps us create access to internet where it's not there or amplify where it is limited. And also, also look at basically all participants who are in this space of internet connectivity. Now, the 4-week program, the learning series as part of BIFCA has been focused on helping create better awareness and also share some of the key challenges and opportunities that startups and innovators can take on to help in this journey. We are bringing presentations by expert speakers. We are also have invited industry stalwarts for a panel discussions and chats along with government officials and technology leaders. We'll be covering aspects from PM WANI to looking into different business models, to also exploring disruptive technologies and the availability of investment opportunities that are currently present in the internet connectivity that innovators and startup founders can leverage to help grow in this area. And with this, I would love to invite Mr. Debashish Bhattacharya with us to give an address on the role of BIF and how they are looking to play a key role in perfecting internet connectivity across the country. Just a brief about Mr. Debashish. He is the Deputy Director General of Broadband India Forum. He has over 3 decades of experience in the sectors of telecom, IT, and broadcasting. And before BIF, he was working as the Director Sales and Marketing with Alcatel-Lucent, promoting mobile, fixed line, broadband products and solutions. With that introduction, would like to give the floor to Mr. Debashish, the Deputy Director General of BIF. Mr. Debashish, all yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Taha. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the BIF Connectivity Accelerator program, which is we are doing with support from Headstart, from Meta, and not to say the least, is the support that we are getting from the Department of Telecom. This activity was kicked off on 22nd January through an event for launching this program by the Secretary of Department of Telecom, Shri K. Rajaraman. And it has been given a tremendous encouragement and boost by the Department of Telecom. So thanks to the department once again. To begin my little context setting talk here, I'd like to just touch upon why PM WANI. What is the significance of PM WANI? You see, public Wi-Fi, this is all about, proliferation of public Wi-Fi as one of the means of spreading broadband connectivity access across the country. One of the reasons why public Wi-Fi till PM WANI came into the picture has not grown in India. This because of several key reasons. One, that there were very limited players in the public Wi-Fi market, only the telcos, so to say, and a few of the large internet service providers. Secondly, if you had a public Wi-Fi connectivity in those days, you would be allowed only to interoperability between one network and the other network was not possible, which means that if one building or your residential building has got Airtel connectivity, and if the second building, adjacent building, has got a Jio connectivity, so once you move from this location to that location, this building to that building, the connectivity would fail and you would have to start all over again. So this was a big challenge. Authentication and payment for each and every time that you were connected to a new network was again had to be done afresh, and this was very challenging for an Aam Aadmi who's using their Wi-Fi service. Mobile data rates, which were earlier quite cheap, have now started growing up and have shot up dramatically in the last year and a half or two, and they continue to rise. So clearly, a need was felt to actually address all these issues. And through a very detailed consultation, TRAI came up with recommendations for deregulation and liberalization of the public Wi-Fi networks in India. And this was the birth of WANI, and they also came up with the WANI specifications for the first time, which was further improved to have the latest version of the specifications, which is now part of PM WANI. What TRI recommendations essentially did was that they permitted more number of players in the market, and they deregulated the bandwidth provision from the service provision. They created a new bunch of players called the service providers who could come in with very light touch regulations, and they in turn could provide the services after taking in bandwidth from the telcos or the ISPs. So the last mile service provision was separated or kind of delinked from the bandwidth provisioning. This was the essence of the TRI recommendations. Now let's look at what are the characteristics of PM WANI. It consists of 4 essential entities: a PDO, public, which is full form of which is Public Data Office; PDOA, a Public Data Office Aggregator; an app provider; and the central registry. I will not get into the details of this because there are experts following me who will explain to you the roles of each of these entities as it has been envisaged under PM WANI. For me, it would just suffice to say that PM WANI offers huge opportunities for the small, micro, and local entrepreneurs. It would lead to the creation of a large number of jobs. So therefore, it's a huge employment opportunity as well. And this is something which is one of the crying needs of the economy today. It would also lead to the acceleration of the Digital India and the Broadband for All mission of the Government of India. Let me also now, with this as a backdrop, explain what is unique about this Accelerator program that has been launched by BIF along with Headstart, Meta, and with the support of the Department of Telecom. The primary purpose is that PM WANI, it has been perceived, though it was launched it was approved by the Cabinet on 9th of December 2020 and was officially launched by the Department of Telecom on 7th of January 2021. It's been more than a year, but unfortunately, the progress has not been dramatically very, very substantial. And the reason, one of the reasons that was felt was that there is not enough awareness about PM WANI. So this program has been developed primarily to build awareness about PM WANI, which can bring in tremendous change and acceleration of digital India and bring socio-economic benefits to the society at large.
Debashish, I think we're just running out of time.
Yeah. So I would, having said that, I would now come to the final part of my my summary by saying that public Wi-Fi is absolutely essential for digital India, and PM WANI is the way to achieve it. With these few words, I'll come to a close. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
over to you, Tahir.
Thank you, Debashish, and totally resonate with you. I think the entire role of PM WANI, the way it has been set up, has been one of the most critical big step towards the entire liberalization of Wi-Fi accessibility as well. And this entire initiative opens up new avenues, and to really understand more deeper around the behind the scenes of this policy and how government looks towards affordable internet accessibility across India, we would love to invite Mr. S.K. Singhal to be a keynote speaker for this event and share some of their understandings and the reasonings or the behind the scenes scenarios of PM WANI. A quick introduction with Mr. S.K. Singhal. Mr. Sunil Kumar Singhal is the Deputy Director General at the Department of Telecom. Mr. S.K. Singhal is an ITS officer of 1992 batch with more than 28 years of experience in the telecom and broadcasting sectors. Presently, he's heading the Data Service Division of DOT, dealing with the proliferation of internet and data communication services across the country. He has earlier served in various capacities, including advisor, TRI, and played an instrumental role in the formulation of the NDCP 2018. With that introduction, we would love to give the stage to Mr. Singhal to commence his address. Mr. Singhal, we are pleased to have you on this session and this platform. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, BIF, for inviting me this important initiative which you have started last month. And thank you, Mr. Malik, for introducing me. In fact, Mr. Malik and Mr. Bhattacharya has made my job easier by at least introducing what the PM WANI is and is the objective of the PM WANI. So I'll not take much time to explain the nitty-gritty of the PM WANI, but the 3 points which I want to emphasize upon is, number one, that if we see any major country or major economy across the world, the broadband delivery models as of today are 3. The cellular connectivity, which we have across the country with most of the coverage using LTE. The second is the fixed line broadband to the individuals. And the third is the Wi-Fi at public places for, again, masses. Unfortunately, in India, when we did the research, we found that the main challenge because of the over-reliance on the cellular connectivity is that neither we get a very good performance on the cellular, nor we have the alternate means to connect. So keeping all those things in mind, the government decided to focus on proliferation of the public Wi-Fi hotspots. And that is why we can see that in National Digital Communication Policy, we have kept a target of 10 million Wi-Fi hotspots that roughly translates to one hotspot kind of visibility we want to see. The second thing is when we see the ambitions or the objectives of the government, we have planned 1 crore public Wi-Fi hotspots across the country to supplement the cellular connectivity efforts. Now, when we want to have 1 crore public Wi-Fi hotspots, and had we been continued with the earlier method that in each hotspot everybody is required to receive the OTP and then log in again and then use for some time, and if you move a little bit here, there, again log in. Now, that experience necessitates that experience is so difficult that it takes away the users from using the public Wi-Fi hotspots. So in essence, the public Wi-Fi hotspots, PM WANI facilitates the use of the public Wi-Fi hotspots seamlessly. Now, the second aspect is, since this is a concept developed and designed in India, government wanted to promote it, so we have kept a 0 entry fee, 0 processing charges, 0 license fee, no paperwork. You can simply register online on the DOT portal, start working. The third thing is it provides opportunities for various kind of entities. If you want to be, if you are a retailer, then you can establish the PDO, that is the public data office, just like the yesteryears PCOs. If you are a tech guy, you can be an app provider or the PDO. If you are into the business of trading, you can start looking at an opportunity where you can increase your sales of the Wi-Fi access points. So it basically creates a complete ecosystem. It is not something focused on one particular segment or one particular segment of the business entities. Everybody can have its role. And simultaneously, you are not required to be responsible for all kind of obligations which come with the telecom licenses, like annual license fee, accounts maintenance, or interceptions, and all those kind of security aspects and all. A very minimal security framework has been kept. The next thing is, when we look at it from a user's perspective, the growth opportunities are practically unlimited. I'll just share the two data points in this regard. One, that a survey has indicated that in India still the average user spends not more than his 10% of time in the Wi-Fi signal zone, while in some of the major economies the time goes up to 60-70%. So means if we can increase this time from 10% to 60-70%, we are not only having a better experience of the broadband, but we are reducing the burden on the cellular operators also, and that could be a revenue source for the PM WANI operators also, because once they work starting as a mobile data offload, it can. The second data point I just want to share is like in European countries, only 8 to 10% data is consumed on cellular connectivity, in comparison to India, where about 80 to 90% data is consumed on the cellular connectivity. So, all that 92% data is consumed mostly through Wi-Fi. So those kind of growth opportunities are available with us. And the lastly, I would like to touch upon only one very good model, business model, which has been adopted by the smaller and medium category ISPs in the country. What they are doing is they are establishing the public Wi-Fi hotspots into the areas where they have their network presence already, but the switch from home pass to the subscription is poor. So essentially, they increase the revenue from their existing network by offering the public Wi-Fi hotspots, and in they also get leads that who all are users, and then they can convert them into a fixed line broadband, and that is how the cycle goes on. And the another way they are encouraging, or they are trying to take the lead in competition, is that they are establishing the Wi-Fi hotspots even in areas where the cellular connectivity is poor, and they offer a combined or package to them, their customers, that okay, in the same monthly rental, you get the connectivity at your home as well as at public places where you don't have the cellular connectivity. So that way it becomes a USP for such kind of ISPs. So there are many advantages which probably the speakers which are going to follow me can elaborate in much more detail, because they are into the business. But when we discuss with different stakeholders sitting in DOT, we find that everybody is innovating differently. So we just hope that this is how the things will keep on innovating. And I'm happy to hear from Headstart that they are taking lead even in the financing and hand-holding. So I'm sure that will help in penetrating it much faster. So thank you. Thanks a lot for participating, giving chance to me.
Thank you, Singhal. It was a pleasure to hear from you. All the background and the interesting anecdotes that you have mentioned over here. And truly, the opportunity has arrived up. It is good to see people, both across technology and across business models, both innovation is happening. And like you rightly said, while the cellular network is there, its limitation, it has its limitation. And it's very important to have an alternate option in this form to be able to, really generate a much wider use and opportunities as well. And, it's good to see ISPs itself innovating in that direction. I know we have a few questions on the in the red list as well, but I would love to start with one question. Right? And I think it's also part of what you also explained, how PM WANI policy itself has been, improving over time with feedback from all these stakeholders, right? And you rightly mentioned that the entire experience of logging in again and moving from one to another is very cumbersome, and that's where the entire interoperability becomes very useful, where they just sign up once and they get access everywhere. right? What are other such mediums where PDOs, PDOAs, are members in this entire space who are working towards internet connectivity? If they want to share feedback with DOT around the challenges or areas that could further improve, they could engage with DOT. Any good platforms for that, Mr. Singhal?
Thank you, Mr. Malik. Actually, you have raised an important point. And what we are doing is we are in the process of setting up one help desk kind of online help desk kind of a window at the central registry portal itself, pmwani.gov.in. So there any kind of query or any kind of suggestion can be given by the stakeholders, and then the suggestions will be used to if required, bring the newer version of the PM WANI, as well as to make the processes easier. At the same time, if somebody wants to have query, then those will be replied also. And the second thing also, what we are doing is as of now, we already have so many queries. So we have converted those into FAQs, and those are also available at the PM WANI portal itself. And the third thing, what I want to do in a month or so, that I want to list all the technology providers details also on the same web page, so that any PDOA who is into the business but does not want to develop its own technology stack, or any access point provider who wants to supply the access points for the integration of PM WANI, and the new PDO does not know from where to buy, how to buy, all those details we are ready, or means at least the links of those entities we are ready to put on the central place, so that that PM WANI portal, as it is referred as central registry, it becomes central to all ecosystem, not only for the registry purpose, but it becomes central to the all ecosystem. So those processes are already ongoing, and I'm sure that by the end of March, everything will be in place. And through this platform, in fact, I would like to request everyone that if anyone wants to offer its system for establishing the PDO-A or PDO, then or app, they can share the details with the DOT, and we will get in touch with them. And once the necessary details are available, we will ask the portal team to post on the portal also. So that is how we intend to develop the whole ecosystem.
That's great, Mr. Singhal. I think that's going to be really helpful. We even had one attendee put a comment around the same part of it. I think their request was also on the hardware side. So if, as we're looking to accumulate all the technology service providers, both apps and hardware, I think it's a great way for PDOs and PDOs to access that information and leverage that to increase the network. And I think that forum itself that we talked about is going to be great for all the members, all the people who are interested, who are already engaging, to also interact. And I'm sure that having you in such forums also creates a better visibility to all the members over here. We are short on time. I know you have another meeting as well, but thank you so much, Mr. Singhal, for coming in. We have a few other questions. What we'll do is we'll, create an email, send it to you, and also upload those questions on our website as well. So those are covered for all the members as well. But thank you.
I'm happy to answer on any query in this regard. And in fact, another channel also we have kept open is like whoever signs up as a PDOA, we add him in a WhatsApp group also, so that the things become easier, and there anybody can raise the query and my team answers those queries. Even as of now also that process is going on. So that way means whatever support is required from the government, we are totally committed to.
That's so good to hear, Singhal. And I'm sure that that WhatsApp group also is a great way, because it just makes it the entire communication channel much smoother, much faster, and also dispersion of information across the group itself. Great. So I think with that, would love to thank Mr. Singhal for coming in on this platform and really sharing some of the key insights and good learnings for all the panel members itself over here. Now, so as we go further into PM WANI and that understood the government's background and the government's vision, achieving 1 crore public hotspots, that's a big task, and it requires an engagement, it requires a contribution from every single member to make that possible in a more effective way. Now that we have understood that, I think it's also important to understand into the much deeper aspect of PM WANI. Exactly how does it work? How stakeholders like consumers, public data offices, public data office aggregators are leveraging value through these schemes. For that discussion, we have Mr. Manohar K. Raja, Executive Director of RailTel and one of the most prominent members of the PM WANI ecosystem. Thank you, Mr. Raja, for joining us over here. Just a brief introduction about Mr. Raja. Mr. Manohar Raja is the Executive Director of RailTel Corporations. He has conceived, designed, and implemented the first 139 services for railway information, which has rated among the top 10 ideas which turned the railways around. The passenger information service, which was a cost center to railways, was converted to a model which could self-finance, scale, and provide better service to passengers. Mr. Raja has also created a collaborative platform for broadband delivery called RailWire. The service empowers local cable operators, entrepreneurs to deliver broadband and increase their ARPU while opening up B2C opportunities for RailTel. The service currently has about 1 lakh plus subscribers to 2,500 partners and growing. Consequently, Mr. Manohar Raja conceived the railway station Wi-Fi as a platform for digital inclusion and pursued the idea. He's responsible for Google's engagement with RailTel on the 400 station Wi-Fi project that has been announced by our Honorable Prime Minister during his US visit. With that introduction, we would love to have Mr. Manohar Raja to take the floor and enlighten us on the various functions of the PM WANI scheme. Mr. Raja, to you.
Thank you, Mr. Malik, for the kind of introduction, and thank you, BIF. I think this accelerator discussion is very interesting. It's more important because one of the aspects of PM WANI which needs understanding is PM WANI actually is an ecosystem. It is not a product, it's not a standard, it is an ecosystem. And only when the various contributors can come together and find value and collaborate with each other, can this ecosystem thrive. And I think in the, like Devashish mentioned, that over the last 1 year, things have were expected to pick up, and there's a lot of interest, but still it has not reached critical mass. I'm sure meetings like this will help ignite each other's minds, and I'm sure we will take off from here. Not to repeat my earlier speakers already set the context very well, and good insights from Mr. Singhal too. But just a few points I want to say, because I think it's always important that the why aspect should be fully ingested. There are many aspects to the why. Why PM WANI? There are many things. It's very important to ingest that also very well, because I think that all the budding entrepreneurs and startups who are thinking, should I do this, and what is in it for me? What can I do? They need to understand the kind of the problem, the statement which is out there, and what the kind of opportunities it provides. So the first, to start with, we all know that India is mobile first country, and 92% of our data is consumed through mobile. And it is a fact that mobile data prices were very good, but they've bottomed out, and now they're not going. The only way now up for the data prices is to go up. So already the masses who are used to data, they will, and we are a very price sensitive country. They'll find it very difficult to keep up with the prices thing. I think that is a big opportunity. The second thing is that people are used to more speeds. I know mobile data speed is constantly increasing, but the fact is internet is almost a video network now, and the kind of experience people want on the mobile, on the kind of consumption which is happening, it calls for more speed. And one of the challenges in our country's internet ecosystem is a very low wired broadband density. It's about only 1.6%, about 7 to 8% households, which I think is going to be a bottleneck. And considering the purchasing power challenges which we have as we go away from the main cities, I think we need to find a new way to deliver, and with the overall lower cost structure, so that we can solve this problem. I believe, and I'm sure most of you also know that Wi-Fi, public Wi-Fi is an opportunity, must be primarily seen as a shared wired broadband, especially if the Wi-Fi is connected on a wired network. And then, if people who can't afford a wired broadband to the homes, maybe if in a community of 200, 300 houses, if there are 2 or 3 hotspots, or even more than that, a lot of them will start sharing that the Wi-Fi. If the speed is very good, most of them will start consuming data from that. And I think that is a very big opportunity which the entrepreneurs has to can focus on. What I'll do is some of the nuances. The biggest challenge here on making PM WANI successful is obviously the business case. I think the technical aspects are well defined, and I'm sure there are some speakers in the sessions afternoon. More clarity will be going in that. Let us look at some of the challenges and what are the ways to look at in making the business case. There is this segment. Some time back, BCG had made a good study, and I think even though the data is dated, the segment is very, very important. We have the segment wherein we have affluent users in the rural areas. They are also mature users of the internet, which constitute about 19% of the population. Then there's a segment which is less affluent, which is ambitious, about 8% of the population. Late adopters of the internet, 15% of the population. But most importantly, there's a next wave of 36%. Most of them are unemployed. They're students, and sometimes farm laborers, farm workers. And they are the people who would like fast internet. They want access to data. They are learning to use the internet, and they want it at lower cost. So this is a very large segment of population. If we can build that ecosystem running, I'm sure we would be able to get this our WANI thing really getting to critical mass. Another thing, a central idea for getting this business, our business model right, how can we capture more of the value chain? The internet value chain. If you see the Paytms and the OTT content players are able to capture the value chain, but unless the last mile, the PM WANI operator is able to capture some of that value chain, there's always going to be a challenge in making the business model work, because access network, how low can you sell the data? You can sell it. What will be the right point to sell? How can what other value-added services can we create to ensure that we are able to make the business plan work? I think this is where innovation is required. This is where we want entrepreneurs. We want all kind of technologies wherein we can really bridge communities. What are the real problem statements people are facing? Farmers, farm are looking for opportunities to sell their organic produce somewhere, and over the internet there are opportunities for them to buy, but they need an interlocutor, because today this community does maybe some of them use internet for watching movies or YouTube, but they're yet to do transactions on the internet. So this need for an interlocutor on the internet for them to work and do transactions on the internet. And the fact that this WANI operator, this Wi-Fi operator can be one of them, can be the physical interface for the digital world there at the edge. That is an opportunity, because that is a problem which others cannot solve. The advantages is that he's physically present there. He knows the community there. He knows the people. He knows their problem, and the fact they can help those people transact on the internet, connect them to the right platforms. And on the other side, the upstream platforms which are trying to reach such communities, he can also be the person who can connect the right communities to them. So this interplay, in my opinion, is what is going to unlock the value which is there in the connectivity. So what we are saying is, when we look at, if we rely only on data, you're going to be competing with the big boys, and there will always there are aspects of data selling which are beyond the WANI operator's control. But he can take advantage of several other things, because when you want to reach large communities where WANI can actually be successful, especially the rural and urban poor in India, phygital is a way to go. And so we discussed earlier how the person at the edge knows the community well and can provide the right upstream connect to them. Then also what happens is there is an opportunity to provide curated platforms for these communities. I think the requirement of say a typical rural India farmhand would be very different. Can we curate something which is of his interest, his value? What would be his interest, his current market prices, what crops to think, what kind of agriculture extension, what seeds and stuff like that. Maybe we can curate something like that, more rural focused. And of course, I think, can we create platforms which are more vernacular, more hyper local? How can the vernacular platforms be the starting point for them? And these are the things which the ecosystem can start providing. And then you'll find that the entrepreneurs and change agents which are there as part of, I would say, the Wi-Fi operators would just not be Wi-Fi entrepreneurs. They would be the change agents. They would be able to connect the upstream businesses for the people below. And I think this assisted digital services could be a key value addition for WANI to start off, I think, in a big way in the rural areas. And of course, for the technologists and the people who are building OTT platforms for various things, rural areas, fintech, agriculture, dairy, fisheries, horticulture, you name it. If once whatever applications which are there on the internet, they also need access to specific communities whom they don't know how to reach. They can't reach through typical advertisement platforms, but they can reach these entrepreneurs, and the entrepreneurs know how to reach them. I think that value sharing also will help this connect a very strong network. Okay, I was just saying, so I was trying to show this. Looks like a busy slide, but it's a very important slide for people who want to invest in this thing. Is this is a huge number. 36% of rural population, they want, they're new to internet, intend to use the internet in the future. Okay, and they are very price sensitive. They are largely unemployed, or they're students, and the farm labor thing. This 36 plus 8%, and the late adopters 15%. This is a large segment of the population which can, once you have a thriving WANI ecosystem, they will be the main stakeholders and main users for this. And I saw, because many of our colleagues and friends in the urban ecosystem keep thinking, who would want to use public Wi-Fi? I think there is this confusion that, is there a market really? Would you really want to do that? But I think in a last meeting, Mr. Osama showed us very clearly how people are really hotspots there. And you need to just take the hotspot to people who are waiting to get connected. Okay, this is what I was trying to say is, this is the internet value chain which we have. And this is what normally it should have been. But what has happened over the time is the people who do the over the top, the people who do transactions have grown much more value. The people who have content have much more value. The enabling technology services have captured much more value. And the access network also has good value because the spectrum cost is high. Now, what the business case for WANI and the entrepreneurs and the ecosystem should focus, I believe, in the Accelerator program is how can we capture a bit of this value? How can we capture a bit of the content value? Can the Wi-Fi entrepreneur do a first day for show ticket sales on the OTT content platform? Because how can he reach that to the community? And what kind of new movies can he launch there? and things like that. That will be the kind of thing, because that requires very close understanding of the community, reach out to them, and even a 10 rupee ticket would result in a very large volume of business. I think that's what it is. I think because I think other content and other stories have been already covered by previous speakers. I do not want to think, but I'm very happy to take questions. And I feel this is the kind of innovation we need to do to make WANI a business successful. We need to do a thing. Otherwise, if we rely on the arbitrage which we get by selling a gigabit, they're going to be too small, and only if very high critical mass is there, they will be able to be successful. Unless we are able to capture a bit of this value, I think even with 30-40% adoption, even about 15-20 people using the hotspot in a day, I'm sure they will be able to become sustainable.
Thank you, Mr. Manohar. I think this has been very good insight, and honestly, very much aligned with you, where the power of internet is huge, right? When we say people who are not on internet, but they would have seen that power in some form or the other because of the way the entire country is connected in one form,
yes,
right? So people understand that power, and where that internet access is not there, that desire is much higher.
exactly. Yes.
Where, and you rightly pointed out that the opportunity is not just about getting internet there. Getting internet is the first step. The opportunity comes in when you create that value on the internet, because that's where the adoption gets much higher, and the opportunity in this entire value stream goes bigger. Because currently, majority of these solutions being developed, even for rural India, is also very heavy reliance on technology, because that's where we can maximize that value. And getting that internet over there and then generating that value creates the biggest system itself. And I think for all of us over here, as we look at collaborating together, right, because the opportunity is so huge that it's only through collaboration where we will be able to create a sustainable long-term business plan that actually creates value across the board. And that's where people coming together with different solutions, but collaborating together to make it one bigger one, can help empower that part. So that's been really nice, Mr. Manohar, to understand that. I do have one question specifically before we move on to a couple of Q&As. Is the journey of RailTel in PM WANI, right? And like you have worked across multiple different initiatives in the in the railways, from RailWire to the Google Wi-Fi to PM WANI. How do you see PM WANI growing? What's the role of RailTel? What are the other partners that can do over here?
See, actually, another aspect perhaps which I didn't discuss is actually PM WANI can also become a venue thing. The venue operator, the person, the important stakeholder is a venue. What if a tea shop owner realizes that if he just gets a PM WANI activated in his tea shop, and if he feels he can sell 20% more tea, or people can hang around more, that is going to set up the trigger. So this is what we did in the railway station. Of course, the idea was digital inclusion, but that experiment also was gave us some very good insights. People crave for faster speeds, and it's even when one of the leading operators had given mobile data for free, still the usage in the station Wi-Fi did not dip. That was very surprising, because people have to log in and do that. And still, because the speed was very good, because we connected them to the pipe at the backbone, so the speed was good and people didn't stop using it. People kept using it even when the mobile data was free. And then things, so that is, and we have seen very interesting stories from in the station experience, where communities around started coming in and doing homework. Entrepreneurs started using it for more reliable connectivity and things like that. So very good insight. So a lot of things, that shows the power of the internet itself. It's not about Wi-Fi. It is just that if you can give good, reliable connectivity, good speed, people can consume it like anything. I think that is the real value. Perfect.
No, I agree on that one as well. I know we have a few other questions also coming in. We have one question from Mr. Mukesh around the challenges. That's something that we're going to talk about in the next session, especially with other founders. But Mr. Manohar, if you want to highlight some of the insights on, what are the challenges that you currently have seen PDOs or PDOAs currently facing in the PM WANI segment? Would you like to say some highlights?
I think it's a thing. It's a fair. It is just an emerging standard. People are just trying to understand what it takes. So we believe that we have PM WANI enabled all our hotspots. Okay, and we are yet to see people start using it like that. Okay, people come and prefer and log in and do it. I think the app ecosystem has to develop. It is a chicken and egg story, because I think if a sufficient number of hotspots are there everywhere, then everybody benefits. The network effect start playing around, and everybody benefits. So I think while we are very enthusiastic, and we think that the PM WANI program is going to revolutionize how public Wi-Fi. Actually, whatever the challenges of public Wi-Fi, I think PM WANI tries to address all of them. Perhaps in the next version, roaming would be a very key feature. I think if people, even though it's slightly more complex feature, but perhaps a clearinghouse and a thing, people who say buy 100 GB should be able to use it anywhere. Buy 1 terabyte should be able to use it anywhere. I think that would be a big game changer for usage. And then also people would know that they don't have to rely on the same community. People would just use it. Passerbys would use it. The venues would start thinking that the coffee shops and tea shops or the hotels would think, okay, we have a PM WANI enabled thing here. And so people would think that the cost of setting up that Wi-Fi network would be easily offset by that, if sufficient number of people, if the ecosystem develops. I think we need to get there.
Perfect. I think it's a journey. It's a journey in the right direction, and that's why it's also important that all these stakeholders are actually, calling it out as a journey and wanting to work together, which is exactly the thought process and the mindset required to make that as a more fledgling ecosystem itself. I know we are over time, but thank you so much, Mr. Raja, for coming in and sharing all your insights over here. And with that, I would love to move on to the next session. And the next session is also very interesting because we are going to hear from the PDOAs, from the pioneers in the PM WANI ecosystem on how they have actually worked in the system right now. And as we have talked about, even with Mr. Singhal, Mr. Debashish, and Mr. Manohar as well, the entire focus of PM WANI has been to leverage the micro entrepreneurs. It's to leverage the existing business owners, giving them the opportunity to now use their venue, use their place for a bigger purpose, bigger value, increasing the value for them, but at the same time, increasing the value for consumers or users in that region. It's a great thing because that basically helps us create much wider network. And that's also the entire benefit of PM WANI itself that has generated over here. To learn more, I think it's best to learn directly from the horse's mouth, where we have people who have actually done that and ran through the entire journey, talk about the experiences, on-ground experiences, the challenges, the opportunities, the achievements this program has made. And with that, I would love to invite all the panelists and the moderator. Firstly, Mr. Saurabh Chaube. Mr. Saurabh Chaube is the General Manager of IIT Mandi Catalyst. Before joining IIT Mandi, he headed the Atal Incubation Center at Great Lakes Palachandra Incubator in South India, in Chennai, as CEO, which was one of the Niti Ayog's Atal Incubation Center. He has also led the nodal agency for entrepreneurship development of the government of Chhattisgarh, and as CEO for an AIC 36 INC in Raipur. He has also, as a startup with more than 6 years of operation, created a blended system of online and offline teaching methods to prepare students for various entrance exams. He has trained more than 800 students on that platform developed by Catalyst Eduday. With that introduction, we'd love to invite Mr. Saurabh on the floor and request him to start the program with the introduction of other panelist members as well. Mr. Saurabh, all yours.
Welcome, Mr. Sai, and welcome all the panel members. I will go to all the other panel members. So as we discuss the government policies of PM WANI, the various functions, ecosystem, and the value engine of the PM WANI scheme, Now it is time for us to discuss the implementation of PM WANI. For that, we have with us the front runners in this ecosystem who will be sharing with us their journey, the ground realities, the effects, the challenges, and how to overcome them. So we are doing this as a panel discussion. I would now like to invite our reputed panel members. First, I would like to call upon Mr. Satya and Gupta. Mr. Satya and Gupta is the chairman of Bluetown. He is one of the senior members in this domain. He's having immense experience in both tech and rural connectivity. Bluetown provides low-cost, sustainable Wi-Fi solutions to connect people in rural areas of the world. By making connectivity accessible and affordable, it enables growth and higher standards of living. Bluetown has the goal of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It aligns with the UN SDGs goals. Bluetown actively contributes to 11 of the 17 specific SDGs, including equal access to basic services, quality education, and inclusive economic growth. I welcome Mr. Satya Gupta. Sir, please join the panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Saurabhji.
Now I would like to welcome our second panel member, Mr. Sai Manapagrada. Mr. Sai Manapagrada is the founder and CEO of Sci-Fi Networks. Sci-Fi is a pioneer of PM WANI, public Wi-Fi network technologies, marketed under its trademark Gen WANI platform. Sci-Fi is a wireless technology, product and solutions company which enables fast, secure, and highly efficient and scalable low-cost solution to aid in large-scale deployment of Wi-Fi hotspots in urban and rural areas across the globe. He is one of the leading technologists in the internet wireless industry. Apart from his domain expertise, Mr. Sai is also a triple Guinness World Record holder, notably for singing Mr. A.R. Rahman's Vande Mataram in more than 265 languages and being the fastest piano player with around 69 piano hits in under 1 minute. I welcome Mr. Sai to the panel. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for welcoming me in such a warm fashion. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I welcome the third member of our panel, Mr. Rishikesh Gare. Mr. Rishikesh Gare is the founder and CEO of Indio Network, previously known as Wi-Fi Soft. Mr. Rishikesh holds a great knowledge of the hardware and software of the Wi-Fi technology. Indio Networks has been an active contributor to the TIP Open Wi-Fi community and has recently launched a TIP-powered Wi-Fi cloud controller and management platform called UWIOS for enterprises, SMB, and MDU markets. Indio's open Wi-Fi solution will be fully compatible with any TIP-enabled Wi-Fi access point, thus allowing customers a choice of hardware platforms that fit their specification and budget. Welcome, sir. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you so much, Saurabhji. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. So now we are all set to start our discussion. So while discussing with the PM WANI, the first question comes up that why PM WANI is going to become the most effective tool available for aspiring entrepreneurs in the internet connective domain. I would like to ask our panel members, starting with Dr. Satya Gupta, that if they can throw light on how can the entrepreneurs, they can leverage all the benefits from PM WANI. If he can elaborate with his experience.
Oh, thank you, Saurabhji. So it's a great opportunity you have provided in the August company of my friend Rishikesh Gareji and our friend Sai and all of you. So about the opportunity the PM WANI ecosystem can provide to the entrepreneur or startup is actually there, and that was the objective of the PM WANI framework, which was started 5 years back, and though it was approved last year only. So there were 3 objectives in the PM WANI thing. One was ease of use of the broadband access on a mobile, especially the interoperability issue, roaming issue, and all that. That was the starting point. Second part was to provide the affordable internet access to the rural masses. And third was to increase the number of Wi-Fi hotspots in the country and create jobs. So far in that, if you see the third objective, which is directly linked to the opportunity, opportunity can be in the form of jobs, but when you are talking about the entrepreneur, opportunity is that how you can make a business case there. And that is where my company, Bluetown, is in the domain. In addition to our Bluetown, we also have a Section 8 company called DigiGaon Job Factory Foundation, and having a MOU with Bluetown that both I'm chairing, of course. And the DigiGaon Job Factory Foundation has also become the member of BIF, startup member of BIF. So basically the PM WANI framework, because it has to increase the number of hotspots in the country, and as per NDCP, this year we should have 10 million hotspots throughout the country. Out of that, under Jan WANI, 2 million should be in rural. So that means 20 lakhs hotspots have to be there in the villages this year alone. Each hotspots have an opportunity to create one entrepreneur. We call it VLE, Village Local Entrepreneur. So that is opportunity, just one at each village, though it is number is very small, but the total number can become actually 2 million, because in one village there can be more than one hotspots. So that is the starting point of it. But then you come to the second layer. The second layer is the PDO aggregator. VLE will be just like a PDO, public data office, and it will be running few hotspots in the village, minimum one. Then there is a PDO, and that is where the real entrepreneur opportunity comes. So PDOA, public data office aggregator, which have to do the aggregation of the PDO and aggregation of the bandwidth provider, aggregation with the app provider, all these things, and then get registered with the C.registry and all that. So that is basically a aggregator of PDOs. And roughly, means as a thumb rule, we can say one PDOA may normally create 1,000 PDO or 1,000 VLEs kind of thing. So these are the two levels of opportunity as far as the entrepreneurship is concerned or the job creation is concerned. And for that, of course, they have to actually implement the policy, implement the PM WANI framework. And that is where the work has to be done. Opportunities are also there and challenges are also there. A lot of challenges were also mentioned. So what will happen here is each village, you have to select at least one fellow who has an entrepreneur mindset, a startup mindset, who is maybe little bit qualified, but not a technical engineer or a business degree. And that have to be skilled actually, in fact, multi-skilled. So that is another opportunity for the skilling companies as a startup also. So you have to skill them in how to, in the basic computer or networking thing, basic electrical and also business kind of thing. So there is a syllabus which is already approved by NSDC, by the government, Ministry of Skill Development, about a 4 weeks course levels, minimum qualification 10+2. So if you can do that, and one fellow is created, and now he is the entrepreneur there. And then he has to get registered to a PDOA or aligned to a PDOA, whatever you call it. And the PDOA then will actually empower him. He will also bring the back, although it will be brought by the telcos or ISP, but the all commercial agreement will have to be done by PDOA with the backhaul provider, which is a TSP in any case, TSP ISP. Because TSP ISP cannot deal with each fellow in the village, neither the villager can have a agreement and all that and paying in advance and then. So that is the opportunity for PDOA, for the aggregation will be there to bring everything together actually. And then, of course, I'm just now talking of the pure connectivity part where I'm concentrating. My business model is called Hotspot as a Managed Service. The Hotspot as a Managed Service also, we were also a startup actually, and we are still a startup where we brought this before PM WANI came actually. Hotspot as a Managed Service. The purpose was to bring the connectivity in the rural village under the mission of connecting the unconnected. So what we did is we created the hotspot, and for backhaul, we tied up with the telcos, and luckily it was government telco, BBNL, BSNL, RailTel, Mr. Manohar Raja, as you have heard already. So these were there. So we told them, you have the backhaul, you have some infrastructure which is either idling or not getting marketed. And we have the people who want to use it, because we have identified unconnected people. So we can bring them together. Whatever investment is required in between, we will do it. And let's do it as a business. So that is where the concept of managed hotspot service provider came actually. So we use the existing infrastructure of the telcos without paying anything upfront to them. So we used it, we invested in the hotspot, we trained the guy there, and he became a BLE. And that is how the end-to-end connectivity was given to the villagers through this framework, hotspot as a managed service. So it actually now it is down-tailed into the PM WANI framework. And the advantage of PM WANI brought to us is, one was that arbitrage kind of thing which Manohar Raja was talking, that 8%, that AGR is not applicable now. If VLE collects the money, first he is allowed to collect the money. In our model, it was not allowed. The money will go to the telco, then it will come back to us, our share. But now we can collect, my VLE can collect. So he becomes a sort of micro operator. So without breaking the rule or law, he does not have to pay 8%. So that is what we are now making use of this facility. And with that, I think on top of that, now a platform is created. And then what Manohar Raja mentioned, then a lot of other things can be done. I'm not in that domain, but I'm going to what is called a local cloud now. I'll be putting a small storage thing, local cloud, which will be on the tower itself. It will be preloaded content, cached content, and then refreshed also. And with that, the more revenue streams will come to my entrepreneurs, VLEs. So that is another next level. And then it keeps going and going. But my take is just to get there, give the connectivity, at least create one job or one entrepreneurship, and still make a business model for me, which we have registered as a PDOA. So I'm making use of my earlier business model, but creating more opportunity at the micro level.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gupta, for putting the light on that. Sure. Now I move to Mr. Sai. Mr. Sai, you are one of the primary contributors of PM WANI. Can you share with us the inception days of PM WANI and the role the sci-fi networks played to bring PM WANI to reality? Mr. Sai, you are on mute.
Unmute. Okay. Am I able?
Yes,
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
great. So thank you for a lovely introduction. I am in the presence of very esteemed stalwarts in the industry, and I feel very fortunate to be here, especially from 2016. To answer your question, the very first consultation paper from TRAI has come out, and through BIF, I've been fortunate to be associated with Mr. TV Ramachandran right from 2016. And when the proliferation, when the consultation paper came out, it was proliferation of Wi-Fi in India. What are the challenges and how can we address them? We, through BIF and Sci-Fi, were able to put up architecture to solve the various problems that we are talking about today, that PM WANI solves. The name WANI was coined, Wi-Fi Access Network Interface, by Sci-Fi, and then presented in an architecture on 30th of June 2016 to TRAI. And then a lot of deliberations happened. Industry experts came together. And we talked to a lot of people, including the ISP providers, the TSP providers, the hardware manufacturers, the app providers, and also the internet local cable operators. And there was subsequently in 2017 trial that was organized by TRAI. And we were fortunate to be part of that trial. And then there are a few other companies also, and successfully proved that this concept will work. My good friend, Mr. S.N. Gupta, and also Mr. Manohar Raja have mentioned, PM WANI has a lot of potential. When 2017, when after the successful trial happened, 2018 and 19, not much happened, but Sci-Fi has continued to install a lot of hotspots based on what we call at that time as Gen WANI, and it's a trademark. We are still continuing it. In Noida, Gurgaon, Delhi, Mumbai, and Hyderabad, we have been able to put up some hotspots and then try it out and actually go to the end users and find out how much they are going to be paying for it. Will they be paying for it? You know, a lot of questions here. I mean, we can sit here and discuss a lot of things about whether it is going to be accepted when the cellular services are available or not. But actually going to the ground and actually finding out these things has been a very, very enlightening experience for us. And during that time in 2019 and 20, our journey continued with RailTel. We partnered with RailTel. Mr. Manohar Raja was, I consider him as a very, highly talented visionary to actually look at it even before PM WANI has been, passed by the cabinet and also been launched by DOT. So even before that, we have done under Gen WANI with RailTel all the 18,000 hotspots. We have integrated with their AAA systems, and that was a very good journey. And then, lo and behold, 2020, December 9th, PM WANI was passed through the cabinet, and that was a milestone in Indian history when it comes to broadband internet. And this is not one person or one company or a set of people. It is the entire industry that actually made it happen. A lot of credit also goes to BIF. We together after that, now we know that it has been 1 year and people are expecting results. And then we come into the challenges of it. So what are the challenges? Why is it not taking off? First of all, what is PM WANI, the framework itself? Why is this authentication, the WANI app token, the WANI PDOA token, the app server, the PDOA server, and the app itself, why are they important is something that has to be grasped still by the industry. And I say it very humbly in the sense that when we approach a problem, and when we see a solution in the market, we usually think about how can that solution help my existing business model, rather than thinking, how can I adapt my business model to this new solution? So the revolutionary PM WANI solution, we have to think about it as something that we have to adapt to, rather than trying to see how it will benefit our existing business model. So this is where I think the biggest disconnect is in the industry today. That's one of the things from the industry adopters themselves. As far as the end users are concerned, they are very happy. They say, you give me 2 GB per day, but it expires in a day. That is not something I'm going to sign up for. So you have to have unlimited validity. Okay, that's one of the things that they want. They are okay to pay 10 rupees per 2 GB, which is 5 rupees per GB, which is much less than what Reliance gives today as 11 rupees per GB, or BSNL for 9 rupees per GB. So we are very competitive. There is no problem about that. And one of the other things that was mentioned by Mr. Manohar Raja was, and a very good point is like this arbitration of getting the internet connection at 1,000 rupees from, let's say, ACT or BSNL, and then trying to sell it at a higher price to the end user is also great. I mean, because if you take 2000 GB as your FUP, and then you split it into 2 GB packets of 1,000 each, and then each of those packets you're selling at 10 rupees, for 1,000 rupees of internet that you have actually paid for, now you can get about 10,000 rupees as revenue. And then that revenue is there. And then you can share it between the PDOs, the apps, the PDOAs, and everybody else. So the arbitrage is not such a small money anymore. And why we know this is because I want to point out very humbly, last 3 months, we have been having continuous webinars with people who have showed interest as PDOs. And these PDOs are actually registered PDOs in the DOT, C.dot portal. There are, when we started off, it was about 5,000 people. A month ago, it was 8,000 people. Today, we see 15,000 people who are signed up as potential PDOs. The interest, and when we talk to these people from the last 3 months, we have done, we've actually gone to the ground level, right? And that's what I want to explain here. We have gone to Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, MP, UP, Jharkhand, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, Punjab, Karnataka, West Bengal, Assam, and the 7 states of the Northeastern. 21 states have been covered so far in the last 3 months. And the attendance there was, stupendous for each of these webinars. And where we go there, first we evangelize PM WANI. Second, we talk about the benefits of becoming a PDO. Then we offer our solution. And they are very happy to sign up. And unlike a lot of the people's thinking that who would spend 5,000 rupees or 10,000 rupees, it's like, there is, if you actually look at these PDOs, there are a lot of LCOs who are coming into the picture, a lot of people who already have CSCs, a lot of people who already have tried their hand at becoming the internet entrepreneurs. So all these people, they say 10,000 rupees per hotspot is not a big deal. 20,000, 30,000, you tell me what is my monthly revenue that I can get. And when I can show them that 1,000 rupees is your OPEX, and then now you're able to sell it at 10,000 rupees and you get 50%, he's very happy. Okay, it's not about, and then why is he happy is because there is handholding that has to be happening with all these solutions that we provide. Now, I'm not talking even about enhanced services like OTT or ad-based revenue that we can have, which is a very strong potential, because now the biggest difference one has to understand, and even Google and RailTel tried it for 4 years, and that was captive portal based. So everybody thought that there's a captive portal and we can monetize the captive portal. But that is so 90s, and I keep maintaining that it is so 1990s and 2000s kind of thinking. When everybody today needs an app, I have not gone into my, a lot of people, including everybody here, don't go to their computers unless it is absolutely necessary. Everything is done through the phone. That means there is an app for everything. And therefore, for Wi-Fi also, app-based access is very important. And once you have the app-based, now with the app, now you can have the control over the user. And based on that user, now you can put up ads or these localized services. All these other services become very easy, where people are thinking about, there is a small village that we had an experiment where there is a fertilizer dealer, and there is a tractor dealer, and there is this Kirana shop guy. And these guys are saying, I want to advertise around my area, and there is no place for me to go to advertise. There is no digital platform. I know everybody in my village is using a smartphone. How do I do this? And then we have experimented and we have done it by integrating these ads and OTTs, and the power of that cannot be underestimated at all. Now, when we talk about PM WANI, it is not just about how do we retrofit it into what we have been thinking for the last 15 years. And I say this very humbly, please do not think about how do we retrofit into what we have been doing already. It is something revolutionary where we have to adapt our existing business models to make sure that we get to the next level of internet connectivity. Now, obviously, the companies like Facebook, Meta today, and Google, eBay, Amazon, Flipkart, Snapdeal, Uber, Ola, all these companies do not have a chance at all if they don't have the internet connectivity. Netflix, Hotstar, all these other things we are talking about, centralized or distributed, just like Mr. S.N. Gupta said, excellent idea. Put it on the towers, put a localized cloud in there, and then synchronize it to the central cloud. But then if you don't have that Wi-Fi internet connectivity, none of these things will work. So first, concentration, and the basic premise from 2016, what we have been set out to do is to first provide the internet connection and then talk about these things. Because right now there is enough over there to attract people. People are excited about this to sign up into these kind of programs. And that's where Sci-Fi comes into picture. We are not just the PDOA, we are also the app provider. We have a lot of features integrated into our app, including ad revenue generation, OTT generation, Hotstar generation. We have to just hit that critical mass. The critical mass I'm talking about is, according to me, and I might be completely off base, but then according to me, at least 100,000 hotspots under PM WANI, and 100 users per those 100,000 hotspots, which comes to about 10 lakh people or 1 million people. Once you have that kind of a user base in any app, you can go to Hotstar, you can go to Netflix, and you don't even have to go to them. They will come to you because they know that you have a user base and they can now market it, and that will be added revenue. So the revenue is never a problem. The excitement among the PDOs is not, PDOs, the retail PDOs we call them, is not a problem. The problem here lies with embracing it. One other point I want to mention, and then maybe I can conclude, is the roaming. Okay, respectfully, Mr. Manohar Raja has pointed out that in the next phase, we will have roaming. Now, I completely disagree with that, because without roaming, there is no PM WANI. PM WANI was designed for roaming, which means one app comes in, you download it, you have the eKYC with the app provider, you go to one PDO, you don't have to do any more eKYC, you go to another PDO, and then it does it. What he might have meant, I think, is paid Wi-Fi portability. Now, when you pay it in one network, how can that be portable? Now, that is not part of the PM WANI architecture. That is the innovation that we need to think about. That is where the industry experts, like, if you really want to do something for PM WANI, then let's have a group of people who will think about how do we work together to make sure that this paid Wi-Fi portability is going to be applied to this PM WANI. The roaming part of it, which is like you don't have to sign in and get an internet access. What happens usually right now is, in our network, when a user downloads a user app, he connects to the network. Once he connects to the network, he's not even given a landing page. He's automatically authenticated without reply, right? And he gets a seamless internet connectivity. He just needs an app. He doesn't even have to land on a landing page. That is the biggest deterrent that we wanted to solve through PM WANI. And once that has happened, however, in PM WANI, when you go from Sci-Fi app, you go to, let's say, a RailTel network, then what happens is you do the PM WANI authentication, everything is done, but you land on a landing page. Once you land on the landing page, then all bets are off. That means the user now has to either think about free, whatever. So you're going back to where we were earlier. So we have to make sure that the user experience is now the paramount here. Okay, the user experience is very paramount, and you have to think about how do we do this. So in conclusion, I would like to say one other thing why the proliferation is not happening is because we should be looking at adopting what PM WANI does into our business model, rather than thinking how our business model can be benefited by PM WANI. Why don't we adopt our business model towards PM WANI? That's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to mention is about the actual ground reality is that people are excited to come and partner with us, even with arbitrage that we're talking about. Not not even talking about the additional digital, assisted digital services that one of the slides of Mr. Manohar Raja has mentioned. Those are very, very good things for added value. Those are called value-added services. But then first you need to have the internet connection. To get the internet connection, I think what we need to do at this point is to make sure that we go to the ground reality and then find out and get these PDOs, and that's exactly what Sci-Fi has been doing. The last point I want to make, just the last point, is, as you know, the 70% of the people, I mean, we know there is a coverage of cellular networks, but there are a lot of weak spots, and then a lot of coverage areas that is a problem. In addition to that, there is a problem with the bandwidth itself. Everybody knows that Wi-Fi is the best bandwidth that can be provided today if you have the right connection. Now, when we talk about these things, one of the most important thing that comes out here is that the entrepreneurs are looking at not just the alternative as a cellular network. One should understand, and TSPs and ISPs, everybody who is attending this meeting, should look at it as a supplemental service rather than a competition. That is the most important point. And when you do all these things within the industry, the public is ready, the end user is ready, the PDOs are ready. All we have to do is come together and then make this happen. And thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm sorry, but I had to make sure that I get all my points across. Thank you for giving me this time.
Thank you, Mr. Sai, for giving us detailed insight on the challenges and the opportunities for implementation of PM WANI, and also the impact, what is going to be on the retail PDOs and the local economy. So thank you very much. Now moving to Mr. Rishikesh Gare. I would like to ask you a question on the basically for a common man or for people like us who are very much rely on the internet for almost anything. We need, like today's time, we need internet every time. We need high-speed internet with minimum downtime. The hardware plays a very important role in ensuring such quality. So how has the PM WANI and the new demand that arose out of it has improved the quality of hardware, one thing. And the second, another important thing is about the security of such networks, because me as a person, when I am logging in a public Wi-Fi network, I'm afraid to use on payment gateways. So how both the things are addressed to now? Over to you, sir.
First of all, I would like to thank BIF for inviting me for this event. It was a great event, and I'm glad that BIF is taking an initiative in educating a lot of people on various aspects of PM WANI. To address your questions, there are two parts to your questions. One is the hardware, and second is security. And both are very apt. In fact, I've been watching the question and answers, and there have been several questions related to hardware and also about security. Obviously, people are all concerned. So let me take the first one, specifically hardware. So as you all know, that there are a lot of people here who understand PM WANI, but hardware plays a very important role. Now, there have been a lot of misconceptions about hardware to be used on PM WANI. So our answer to that is you can use a hardware which is providing what is called an hotspot services on the PM WANI application or for PM WANI projects. What is this hotspot? Hotspot is basically a concept where users are, any end user is first blocked from internet access before they get onto the internet, and there is some sort of authentication. The authentication can be implemented through various means. So PM WANI has defined a framework. It is called a token-based framework that is used for authentication. In the past, as Mr. Sai has mentioned, there was a captive portal-based authentication, and there are new authentication schemes that are coming up. We are part of several initiatives worldwide. One is called Wireless Broadband Alliance, which is kind of promoting a new system called open roaming, which is going to be based on certificates and a few other things. As you can see that the authentication can be anything, but the hardware has to do one of the most important functions of ensuring that the right kind of users connect to only the persons who are authorized to use the PM WANI network, right? So in terms of the hardware, so it means that the hotspot functionality needs to be provided by the OEMs who supply for PM WANI hardware. And there are a lot of different OEMs. Some of them, like us, we are Indian-made Indian OEMs, and obviously there are international OEMs. We likes of Cisco, Aruba, Ruckus, Cambium, you name it. There is a big list of hardware vendors who provide these functionality. Now, one of the challenges with this third-party hardware is basically that these guys, they don't have, if you go to Cisco, Aruba, they don't have a PM WANI enabled access point or something like that, right? It is all that has to be enabled by a tech company, a company like us who understands this framework and has a compatible system. So although you can use a Cisco or a Ruckus access point, you have to ensure that the correct software stack is used so that you will enable PM WANI on these networks. That's number one. On the other hand, then there are companies like us and a few others in India, like CDOT, for example. We offer a full integrated end-to-end solution so that the service providers who are listening on this particular call, they don't have to worry about doing all these sorts of integration. So that's one point. So hardware, to answer some of the questions that have been raised, any hardware that supports the captive portal or I will not call captive portal, but authentication functionality can be used for PM WANI. Now, to address your second part of your question about security, which is very paramount for any user, I think it's quite natural for people to not use their credit cards and so on. It's important that the PM WANI framework provides maybe cashless or credit card-less transactions. So there are now wallet systems coming into, UPI-based systems are there, which are primarily going to get used, according to me. Secondly, there is another option which is now prevalent in Africa, where we are doing a lot of projects. Again, public Wi-Fi projects, where it's called a credit-based system. So where actual transactions are done in cash with the PDO, but there is no credit card, there is no personal information or data that is being processed. It is you pay something to the PDO, and the PDO will recharge your account through a mobile app called reseller app. So there are multiple avenues through which you can get protected. Now, the other important aspect of it, what happens to my data? Right, the data that gets collected, you register with your mobile number, your name, and so on. So for that, you need to work with a reliable company who understands this framework and has the history of maintaining and building this kind of system. So if tomorrow any small startup or any college grad says, okay, I'm going to build a PM WANI system, you need to really look at where the data is residing, how secure is the data. So all the operators who are listening on this session, you will have to ensure that you work with the companies who understand this framework, understand what is public Wi-Fi, and are able to secure your data. I think you're on mute, Mr. Saurabh.
Thank you, Mr. Rishikesh, for giving the insight on both the very important aspect, both security and the hardware. Now, I would like to open the floor for the question answers from the audiences. Please go ahead with your question. You can post it in the chat box. Okay. One of the important question I would like to take on behalf of the audiences, that the infrastructure of the public Wi-Fi plays a very important role, especially in India. There are various challenges. So what are those challenges for the PDOs have to face while implementing it? If you can throw the light and what they can do to overcome that.
Please let us know who need to answer that, because otherwise there will be confusion.
Sure. So, Dr. Satya Gupta, if you want to take that answer.
Thank you, Saurabh and Rishikesh ji. Actually, about this infrastructure, and you are right, and as Mr. Sai also mentioned, actually, ultimately, the PM WANI, though there are a lot of opportunity, lot of stacks, the first thing is getting the connectivity, the plain vanilla connectivity there. For that, the main infrastructure, or you can say the main weakest link, is the internet connectivity, what you call a backhaul or an internet lease line. And that is the biggest casualty when we go to rural and more deep rural and remote areas. It may not be there. As you know, in the country, 40,000 villages, they have no, what to talk of fiber, they have no terrestrial connectivity even for voice actually, 42,000 villages. So, and other villages also, everywhere you don't have that lease line kind of availability. So for that, now you have to use new technologies also. Earlier, the conventional technology was either microwave, point-to-point microwave, RF, or then fiber. And as I mentioned, fiber have reached only 2 lakhs villages still, and 4 lakhs are still remaining before the fiber goes there. Now the alternate are there. One of the alternate which I'm trying with, and one of our member of BIF is already there, that is called FSO, free space optic communication. So it can bridge the last mile, or what you call middle mile gap, by using that, so that the lease line is extended to the village, to the center of the village from where a hotspot is created. So that is one thing. And other thing, of course, is now you are talking about these LEO and these satellite thing, and the 40,000 villages are the candidate for that technologies also. And it is not only just one, like the conventional technology of one carrier only, if you use, so you need a backup. Normally there should be redundancy or a backup, either 2 carriers thing should be there, or 2 media should be there actually. So that is another thing. So you have to have, according to me, 2 alternate technologies to deliver the reliable connectivity to the village. That is the main part of the infrastructure which have to be addressed, and without that, everything else will not happen.
Thank you, Dr. Gupta. Mr. Sai, what will be the best advice you would like to give to aspiring entrepreneurs coming in this sector? Sai, you are on mute. Please.
Get me again. Okay, there you are. For the aspiring entrepreneurs in the space of PM WANI PDO, what we have, to answer that question, I have to tell you how we are envisaging to promote the PDO proliferation through PM WANI. We have 3 distinct levels of promoting PM WANI through the entrepreneurs. One is the retail PDO, which is a kirana shop, a sweet shop, or a bakery. These kind of people who come on and then they just put up a hotspot, and then they get an internet connection, and then we give them the end-to-end solution. We give them a PDO app, just like, you know, if you look at Ola, you are an end user, you hail a cab using Ola, but then the driver himself also has an app for his accounting and his stuff. Similarly, in our case, we also give a PDO app with a dashboard for his marketing needs and accounting and e-voucher selling. So that is the retail product. Then we have PDO distributors, which is a franchisee level, which means that we have the local cable operators who have been doing, who are very influential in that area, who are very good at marketing and sales, and they can go ahead and evangelize and sell the product of PM WANI to each of these retailers. And then they onboard the retailers, and based on that, they get a revenue share when they onboard. At the same time, they also have the duties and responsibilities of making sure they're the single point of contact for installation or any of the issues that they have over there. However, we have a cloud management system for all of the trouble tickets that if there is any problem to solve those things. But from the PDO distributor point of view, he gets this revenues for onboarding the end PDO user retailers, and at the same time also gets a very hefty percentage of return for every month for maintaining each of those PDOs. Okay, so that is a very franchisee level. The third level is looking at the what we call as super PDO. In super PDO, what we do is we look at people, the ISPs who already have their hotspots installed. So they already have, like, I'll give you a ground level example. In Telangana, there is a person who has, through GTPL, he has about 200 hotspots. And he has been running it. He has a fat pipe that he has hired, and then he is giving it to about 200 households and, commercial places. and he wants to make sure that, and he's just selling the FTTX kind of a connection to them. But then he wants to see how the Gen WANI monetization platform, which is 100% PM WANI based system, is going to help him. And then what we do to them is ask them to come onboard their 200 hotspots into our Gen WANI platform, and then we give them a means to monetize. In monetization, I would like to talk about only three things. The main thing is by selling e-vouchers. So whatever he's doing it, he can market it, he can sell it. And to the second thing is he gets revenue through adding more and more connections. Now he can set up more and more hotspots in that area. And then the third revenue he gets is by monthly subscription from each of these people, the PDOs that he can generate. So he also is kind of a semi-PDO distributor, in the sense he gets more retailers into his network, but then they are connected to his network. So we interface with his AAA, his network. Rather than PDO, a distributor, the difference is that he doesn't have his own AAA or his network, but the difference between PDO distributor and the super PDO is that these guys have their own network. So these are the three things that I think we go ahead. In addition to that, when we talk about PDO retail, we cannot always think about a chaiwala or a kirana shop. We should also think about the restaurants. We should also think about bicaneries. We should also think about places. So there is a division over there. So what we go is we give these plans as Sci-Fi Basic, Sci-Fi Pro, and Sci-Fi Max. So as you can see, we have really taken a very good chunk of existing marketing of aggregators that has been happening. As you can see, like, the HostGator kind of, web service. They have this basic plan and then standard plan and then deluxe plan. So whoever wants to get it can get it. It's like we say it's 20,000, but then we discount it, we give it at 10,000 rupees, and we make, basically they are going to put the money only when they can see the ROI, and we can show the ROI to them within 2.5 to 3 months, not 1 year, not 2 years. It's not going to work with them. We have to show that ROI within 2.5 months or 3 months at the most. So we have these kinds of things. So the advice that I give to entrepreneurs is to actually look at PM WANI, not just, and come up with this innovative business ideas. What we also tell our PDOs in our webinars is that, see, you are the hardcore businessmen. We are just facilitators.
We are overboarding the time.
You are the hardcore businessmen. You tell us how to do this, and then we'll provide the platform for you. So that's how we have this relationship with them. So it's not a.
Thank you.
It's more like my thought process.
Thank you, Satya, for giving us. Now moving to Mr. Rishikesh. Rishikesh, there is a lot of opportunities and challenges coming up with PM WANI, and there needs to be a lot of hardware innovations to be done. If you can throw the light, what is required to move ahead, make sure that the PM WANI delivers.
Okay, I'll keep it short and sweet. See, first of all, there are two aspects. One is the hardware. As you know, there are some challenges currently. We being the hardware supplier for a lot of PDOs, we are OEM in India. So we have seen a lot of disturbance in the chipset market and in the supply of hardware. So as country, if the country wants to really deploy these millions of hotspots, it's imperative for us to make sure that we have hardware availability and at a right price also. So one important thing that I think government is already looking into, and we are making headways there, is start manufacturing a lot of this hardware in India, making the ecosystem strong enough so that we'll be able to support the hardware manufacturing in India by Indian OEMs at the right price, at the Indian price, basically. So obviously we will not need to buy Cisco or a Western company products, which are really expensive for the Indian market. That's one. Secondly, this is on the hardware or chipset side. Second, on the software side of things, there are some important innovations that need to happen for PM WANI to take off, according to us. One is something called meshing. So meshing needs to be very important, because it is impractical for you to wire each and every access point and run fiber connections to all of them. So we believe meshing technology the point-to-point, which is basically point-to-point and point-to-multipoint technologies need to be very robust, because as you can say, the RF backhaul seems to be like a lot of ISPs today use the RF backhaul as a primary backhaul, and the RF technology and the backhaul technology have to live with the times and the speeds that are required by the end users. So, Mr. Short answer is that India needs to build its own hardware, and at a right affordable price is one. And secondly, Indian OEMs like us, we'll have to invest in R&D to ensure that we build the right kind of technology for the PM WANI framework.
Thank you, Mr. Rishikesh. Thank you all the panel members for giving insight on PM WANI. With your practical experience, a lot of insights you gave on implementation part of that, how it's going to affect the users, and how the security and the hardware challenges are there while implementing it. Thank you very much for taking your time out of your busy schedule. Now I hand over to Mr. Taha Malik to take the further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saurabh.
Thank you, Saurabh. So I think before I say thank you to everyone, one last request.
Thank you, everyone.
Very important one. I would love to have all the speakers with their cameras on, so we can take one last photo with all the members on the group. And the team, can you also put them on spotlight so we have everyone together?
Let me know when we're ready.
Sure. I think we're waiting for Mr. Manohar. Hopefully, join in a minute or so. But we have all the panelists, all the speakers on the forum over here. Yes. So thank you everyone for coming in for this discussion. This was basically our first of the learning series where we wanted to help create more awareness and knowledge about PM WANI, the challenge, the opportunities, and even the purpose behind it. All the discussion that we had today talked about the opportunity being humongous, but at the same time, it requiring innovation across multiple fronts, be it the hardware, the software, the business models, the opportunity of collaboration to increase that value. But we all certainly see together that being able to innovate in this space is creating value. And I remember the previous question that we had, Mr. Sai, the example of a woman who was able to set up PM WANI and in 8 months able to create enough income to get a bike for her daughter. Right? That's a powerful statement. These micro entrepreneurs are just one example of the value add. The unknown examples are the people who have now access to internet that they would have not had, and the life that they have been able to improve, they have been able to change with all of them coming together, with the internet coming together for them. I think it's an amazing opportunity for us to be able to go more deeper in this space. And this one meeting is not enough, that's for certain. And that's why, as part of the learning series, while we started with the basic introduction of the, understanding and deeper of PM WANI, we actually have a follow-up sessions over the next 2-3 weeks where we go into specifics of one, the business model, where we understand the various different models, both from being able to make it simplified for a PDOs to come in and understand the value for them and how they charge, but also the business models of, the complete ecosystem being developed, the ads revenue, the OTT, what would that look like? And then secondly, also have a discussion much more deeper into the technology. We talked about the backhauls, the FP channels, all these that are required to get internet connectivity, which is the core of being then able to generate the public Wi-Fi. What are we happening over here? There is some, amazing amount of research development happening across the board by corporates, by startups, by academicians, and we are bringing all of them together to discuss different technologies. And then finally, also the investment. There is a required to be funds, and government is already doing something. We have foundations, we have corporates, we have investors who are coming in this space. So we look forward to sharing all that learning with the group. And at the end, we also want to identify some of the top innovators who are spearheading some great innovation in this space and help them grow further itself. And thank you everyone in this group to come in and spend their time, their quality time over here. Thank you all the attendees for joining in. We really hope this session was helpful to everyone to understand, and we look forward to having you again in the future sessions where we'll discuss more deeper aspects of all of these points. So
Thank you, BIF. And
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
Thank you.